All right, so let's get to the number one mammy of the night of tonight.
Oh,
Stacey,
really?
yes, Stacey Abrams. So the Georgia Senate panel who is probing Fulton DA, now turns its focus to Stacey Abrams and the new Georgia project. So it says Georgia lawmakers are digging into the new Georgia project after it admitted to 16 campaign finance violations and paid a $300,000 fine. Republicans also want.
By the way, that expression of guilt is admissible.
So Republicans also want answers about its ties to a $2 billion Biden-era climate fund. Stacey Abrams, who worked with the group, calls the investigation a political hit job.
And that she would have expertise. Didn't she most recently participate in one of those when it came to trying to get Trump et al. Down there in Fulton County with her ignoramus colleague, Fannie Willis?
So it says the chairman of special Senate committee set up to probe the Fulton County prosecution of Donald Trump's attempts to overturn 2020 election laws has turned his attention to former Democrat gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams, whose ties to a voter registration nonprofit recently resulted in one of the largest campaign ethic fines levied by the state. So when they paid the fine, that's when the Georgia committee said, we need to investigate her.
Well, they entered the concession of guilt. Yes, of course, it's the state's obligation. Investigate the criminal activity, big dummies.
Athens Republican Senator Bill Cowsert on Friday filed Senate Resolution 292, which would allow the Senate Special Committee on Investigations to open a probe into Abrams founded New Georgia's project following January 15th settlement and the long-running campaign ethic case. Last month, the group and affiliated New Georgia's Project Action Fund signed a settlement agreement in a 2019 case alleging illegal campaign contributions to Abrams' 2018 gubernatorial campaign and other Democrats running for a statewide office that year, which will include Warnock. So they agreed to pay $300,000 as part of the State Ethics Commission settlement agreement for committing 16 campaign finance violations, including failing to register as an independent committee and not disclosing $4.2 million in contributions and $3.2 million in expenditures.
Ask me what I'm doing.
Oh, I don't see. I was reading. Oh, what are you
playing the violin?
So yeah,
music.
You need water. So what's going to happen? Where are we going with this?
Violin will be playing that music, you know.
The Senate resolution will also allow the committee to investigate $2 billion grant awarded in 2024 to an environmental organization which ties to Abrams. $2 billion? Listen, I need a.
Why do you think that everything's falling apart? Why do you think everything's been falling apart recently where there's no money? That's because the money is being sidetracked, misappropriated, stolen by those who have assumed authority. And I don't know why they don't have it in their hearts and souls to say, hey, it is our turn to do it right, to do it the way it's supposed to be done. They say it's our turn to go steal to get the gravy. Everybody else is doing it. We might as well do it. So it's like, okay, why do we need you in there to steal the money that's keeping us from getting the children educated, from getting the streets cleaned up, from having the wherewithal to put some of the thugs in rehab and training programs, to bring in and finance and work with industry and such like. What is it? Why don't we have that? Oh, you're stealing the money. Okay, there was $7.5 million in Fulton County that was supposed to go to catching up prosecutions, because if somebody's been in jail and they haven't been indicted in 45 days under Georgia law, they're supposed to cut them loose. So they have all these people that need habeas corpuses filed on their behalf because they've been kept in there longer than 45 days with no indictment. But the $7.5 million disappeared. There was $2 million to catch up on sex crimes prosecutions, but that seems to have disappeared. And there's $500,000 that was appropriated for juvenile crime millions. Oh, that's $10 million that seems to have disappeared, and somebody doesn't think they have to account for it. And now we've got several billion for this. Oh,
Exactly.
my goodness.
So when you have these types of investigations, they're going to ask for an expense sheet, like where was this money allocated out to, correct?
Oh, they want a spreadsheet. Where'd it go? Who got it? Where did it go? And what for? And when?
So I wonder if Stacey Abrams is going to try and fight a subpoena when they subpoena her ass.
Well, see what they can do if they issue a subpoena and she doesn't reply. Under Georgia law, one of their remedies, since the Georgia legislature is now in full session, is to detail the sergeant at arms to physically arrest her and bring her forth, so they can say, put them behind your back. Well,
right. The difference between Stacey Abrams and Fannie Willis, see, Fannie Willis is a DA, so they can't just go in and arrest a DA.
Yes, they can.
Well, because
that's her. See, that's what I'm talking about. You're the DA and you don't realize one of the three remedies that the Georgia state legislature has is simply ordering their sergeant at arms to physically arrest your fool self and
bring. Well, after the first subpoena and she ignored it, they didn't arrest her. But then
no. But see, the legislative body wasn't in session, so under Georgia law, they'd have to go through a circuit court. Okay. Now, they just said, we'll wait until the legislature comes back in session and then do it that way. So they have three remedies: arrest by the sergeant at arms, going through a circuit court, or the legislature cutting off any further money to the district involved, which is Fulton County, and also filing an independent action to get the money back from the county. So, and then the Supreme Court could appoint a special prosecutor to go look at it.
So can Stacey Abrams do what Fannie Willis tried to do as far as what do you call it?
She declined to honor the subpoena, but she didn't get it quashed. What the circuit court ruled when she did file for it said it's too late. You already dishonored it. It's up to the state legislature as to what remedy they choose to take against you. If they decide to take a remedy, you can apply again, but we can't tell you what we're going to do.
And if you get subpoena, you might as well just show up.
Yeah, because it's clear. It's tax money. The state legislature appropriated the tax money to you specifically for a specific purpose. Under just about everybody's law, the legislative body is entitled to inquire what happened to the money. Mm-hmm. And all this little weak thing about ongoing investigation, if there's an ongoing investigation of a specific crime, they can redact the names out of it. But where'd the money go? So who exactly does the money go to relative to anybody that needs to be kept secret? If there are specific individuals, the problem is the $10 million was not earmarked for fighting organized crime. $500,000 for juveniles, $2,500,000 for $2 million, for catching up on sex crimes prosecutions where there are known victims, and $7.5 million for catching up on past due felonies. So just exactly What is she talking about when it comes to ongoing prosecution? She's stalling. She had hoped that Hyena Harris would get to office and she had escaped, but it didn't work out that way because the American people said, "Oh, that ain't what's happening."
And even if they know, if it's, let's say it's a Republican person in office that's committing crimes or taking money they're not supposed to, you don't have the power in the state of Georgia or in DC to open up an investigation on them because your side lost, basically.
Now, oh, by the way, there's one other category of federal cop that the records might be on: the DC police. So how many of us live in Washington, D.C., got busted by the D.C. cops? Remember what we were talking about earlier? You remember the thing with the records on the brutality was supposed to be on federal cops? If we were
yes.
Yeah, I forgot about the D.C. police. They're the only significant police department that's in that.
Oh, okay.
It just dawned on me. D.C. police. Let me mention that.
That's right, because they're not a state. Yeah.
Yeah, District of Columbia. By the way, they don't need to get to vote. If you want them to vote, just reseed them back to Maryland so they can vote in Maryland and have congressional and senatorial representation, and you can keep the Capitol Mall a small area as the district. So
yeah. Amber Dawn says a main part of JD's message went over folks' head: forced mobilization on front lines. Lazinski is literally kidnapping his male citizens, walking their dogs at home to force them to go fight on the front lines. Yeah, I saw a video of that earlier.
It's called impressment, not draft, but impressment. Impressment has been legitimated by 1,000 worth of years of staffing naval forces. You got shanghaied, means sent to Shanghai. Well, you know what that means? You got drunk in a pub and you were walking down the street and a press gang from a Royal Navy ship jumped you, beat you across the head, knocked you out, and you woke up a day later on board a warship as it was out to sea under sail, and you got impressed. The United States Navy used to do the same thing until they outlawed it. When you needed seamen, you'd go, boom, waylay them. They'd wake up on board a warship the next day in irons, and they'd be let out and integrated into the ship's company. And if they got out of hand, they'd get lashes or walk the plank.
Right.
Get home.
Thank you, Asanta, for the super chat. Thank you, 100 Black. He's a member for over 30 months. Good evening, Dana Doll, and Judge Barbecue Brown. I get another milestone super chat anyways. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And thank you, Pam. Ronnie says, are illegal immigrants constituents?
No.
No, but she's talking about AOC's.
No, they're not, because they shouldn't be here. They can't vote, so they're not a constituents. They are fugitives from American justice. They should be taken into custody, and they should be deported or detained in a safe facility until their circumstances can be determined, and then deported or imprisoned, put to hard labor. You can do that. I mean, there's 50 million of them. So, I mean, a good percentage of them would probably switch to that. There are some roads that need to be built in the wilderness, some cleanups that need to be done. And I mean, you know, that's what they do anyplace else if they caught you sneaking across the border. You don't think if you got caught sneaking into Korea that they would just put you up in a hotel?
But see, AOC is looking at them as her constituents. Why? Because again, if Kamala Harris became president, they would have fast-tracked all those illegals to be citizens or residents.
Date of the designated entry point, which would have been January 21st, 2021, they would be automatically citizens without taking a course, passing a test like regular people have to do. And they would have, as refugees and been granted political asylum, they would be citizens the year before the midterm elections. That would be 2026. Midterm elections will be occurring in 2027.
Right. And that's why they had the borders open, because come on into these sanctuary cities, which is to stronghold the blue wall and create other blue districts in other states or what have you. Come on in, because the more bodies we have in our district, the more representation. That means we get to send to Congress, and we can control the House and the Senate, and then we could fast track these people to be citizens, and they're going to vote Democrat for as long.
And the more money we can safely steal and be put back in place so we can steal it and protect our buddies who are stealing and giving us our cut.
Right.
Yeah, the racket, that's organized crime, RICO, for real. It's interesting that Georgia thought that the Trump people were engaged in RICO activity when it actually is the people that were after the Trump folk that were engaged in organized crime. This is organized crime. It's so deep and so treacherous that any place else besides the United States, it would be treason, and somebody would be subject to being put on a wall and propping it up before they fell to the ground after the loud noises. Mm-hmm. Now, in other words, the firing squad. So,
all right.
I find that interesting.